Hey everybody, how are you today? Listen, we have decided that we're going to have a little fun today in the spirit, of Halloween, because Halloween, we're in the Halloween month, in the month where the veil is thinning and all that. We decided that we're going to tell some stories about things we've encountered in our lives and things we've run across and fun things like that. So while I'm at it, if you could think about it, if you're enjoying this video, please reach down and hit that like button because, we'd really appreciate it. Anyway, so you want to go first? I know you got something you're really excited about.
Yeah, I got a funny story. So today is ghost stories or weird thing stories.
Weird thing stories,
Just weird stuff. Yeah. A couple weeks ago, we had Nora on, who makes orgonite things, spirit art, I guess she calls it. And up until that time, I did not know what orgonite was. Well, weirdly enough, the next week, I was downtown where I live, and there's a big art festival going on, and there were street vendors. And there's a guy that had a little booth there, and he had a bunch of orgonite jewelry, little pyramids, little pendants, and people were looking at it, just kind of looking at, oh, this guy sells jewelry. And I was looking at him like, oh, orgonite. And he goes, his eyes got about this big. He says, you know what these are? And I said, yeah. He says, no one knows what these are. And he says, find me on Instagram. We got to talk. And so he held up a little card that he had made with his Instagram ID on it. And so I took my camera out and I took a picture of it. And I said, I will contact you and we'll get together. And so he didn't have any cards to hand out. So I figured, I'll just look them up when I get home. And when I got home, I looked at my camera and the picture didn't actually take. The camera, I pressed the button, but when the picture actually took was when the phone was back in my pocket. And
wow.
So I lost him. And I figured that's really weird. He was really excited. He wanted to meet, and I wanted to meet him too. And the universe said, not right now. So just a really weird, why would the camera malfunction just then?
Because somebody didn't want you to contact the kook.
Right.
I don't.
I was really interested because I wanted to kind of chat with him, and I guess share ideas, whatever. But
well, I mean, don't discount the fact that you were standing over a healthy table of orgonite or orgon, right?
Right. Duh. Now that you mentioned that,
happening there,
right?
So it might have been. And then there's also the part about, well, why didn't you check and make sure the picture took?
You know what? 99.9% of the time I do that. And
I know, right?
That particular time, I didn't.
Well, I mean, I have to tell you, I can't tell you how many pictures I have of the inside of my phone case. I don't know. I mean, one time, this is going back now with a different phone. One time, my phone was actually signing itself up for Pandora. I mean, it wasn't typing in the name or anything, but it was like, had logged on to find Pandora. I was like, what is this all about? I don't want Pandora. No. So I don't know if it was in my purse and it, the screen got hit or what, but I was like, I never wanted Pandora. Like, I was never interested in Pandora, like, at all. So, it's crazy, right?
I have another weird photo story. So this is way back. I used to live in Taiwan, and this is before digital photos. So everything was on film. And I had participated in a ceremony, which they do around Chinese New Year, where they burn paper money. So there's like this urn, and they light paper money on fire, and they let the smoke come out, and the smoke from the burned money is supposed to reach the ancestors, right? I mean, it's a spiritual practice.
I get it. But lighting money on fire, I'm not so sure about that. But anyway,
it's just it's paper simulated. It's not real
money. We live in the U.S. We have paper money, right? Like,
okay, right. I should have been clear about that. It's
play money, like Monopoly money.
Yes, but it's specifically for lighting on fire for the spiritual ceremony. So I'm taking pictures of this because it's really interesting. And when I got the pictures back, there were white ghosts all around the room. And I was like, this is...
Were they orbs or were they... Were they
Wispy,
circles? Oh
wispy.
wow,
Yeah, not orbs, but they were
the
like,
ancestors.
yeah, yeah. So
I've seen energy on cameras before. I've
okay,
seen it.
that just totally completely freaked me out, and I still don't really know what it was because I didn't see them at the time.
Well, no, right, of course. It does happen. You can't. So that's an interesting one. That is an interesting one because I think that there's a lot of people that would say, it's an exposure issue. It's it's this or it's that,
Yep.
which all those things are absolutely possible. But I and this is not wispy, but orbs, energy orbs. I was in a local crystal shop that my wallet and I don't go to very often anymore. Um,
Because it leaves lighter than it came, right?
not anything against the crystal shop, but it's that whole separating me from my money thing right now that I need to be careful about. But anyway, this particular location is really so I live in a town called Crystal Lake. One of the reasons is because there's crystals here, right? We have big deposits of crystal quartz, and
Well, your whole town is like a magnet for energy, isn't
yeah,
it?
pretty much. Yeah, I mean, it really pretty much is.
That's
So
awesome.
I know, right? Although it's Crystal Lake, isn't it Crystal Lake that Jason with the hockey mask comes from?
Maybe, but I would
I think
discount
so,
that.
but whatever. I don't watch that stuff. Anyway, so this particular building is in a particularly it's in a downtown. Like it's been there for over 100 years. This downtown, the tall buildings that are really close to each other, right next to each other,
Yeah.
like that. And this building is built on a really particularly energetic, I don't know, area
Node.
of the
A
block,
node.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. A node, maybe a ley line, who knows? Anyway, so I had already in this building sensed energy vortexes. I'm going with vortexes, okay? Whatever the other word might be. But one time I was standing and I had my arm leaning on the counter and I had my purse was hanging on my arm. It was on a long strap. And all of a sudden my purse started going like this. And I was right over. She's like, "Oh, that's where the vortex is." And I was like, so I felt it.
Oh,
and
wow.
then they had
That's
a basement, cool. Right? They had a basement. And you used to go, that's where I met Val. If you've watched, Val. That's where I met Val, was in the basement of that shop. When I went down to the basement, the place that corresponded to this area that was upstairs by the register, you could feel the vortex down there too.
Sweet.
So I could feel the energy of the vortex, right? Like that's what I do, but I think a lot of other people could feel it too. So I was there one night for, I did yoga down there and I've done other events down there, but I was there for a seance one night. And while we were there, while everybody was getting settled in and the lights were kind of down low, everybody was going to the opposite corner of the room with their cameras, taking pictures. And I don't remember what prompted them to do that. It might have been my big mouth saying there was a vortex over there. I'm not sure. But the first person does it. And then, I'm showing there's nothing on it, but she shows, and there's all these little round circles of light, like lighter colored than the rest of the picture, like energy orbs. I mean, if you Google the energy orbs, photos, you'll see what I'm talking about. So, okay, one person takes it, whatever. Then another person goes over and takes it. Energy orbs, different places, different ones. Another person, I mean, everybody that took pictures there got these energy orbs in their photo. So,
cool.
You on one hand you could say, well, it's an exposure thing, it's a flash thing, it's whatever, but it was like 5 or 6 or 7 different cameras, all getting these orbs. So, I mean, I don't know. I remember here at my home, I had people over for holiday, and my great niece was sitting on my couch, and she calls me and her mom over, and she's like, "Wow, look at this." She had, I don't know what she was taking a picture of, but she took a picture and there's energy orbs floating around in my house, which actually doesn't surprise me when I think about it. So what you got on your photo, I mean, it, you know, earthbounds, if you think about it, that ritual, look, aren't you, isn't it something how I circled back to it and I didn't forget what you were talking about in the first place? I'm kind of impressed with myself at this
Good
moment.
job.
That ritual was meant to call on the ancestors, communicate with the ancestors. Perhaps you have photos of the ancestors.
I'm sure that is it. Yeah. There's no
I
other
mean,
explanation.
right? So I want to talk about Ouija boards for a minute.
Oh, okay, good. And I have card a card deck story that will come
Okay,
back to.
that's cool. Yeah, we got lots of cool stuff to talk about. So
Yeah.
I'll try to make this quick. I was working in a restaurant. I don't know if you know anything about Illinois. You may or may not have heard of Woodfield Mall, right? Like I was
Mhm.
working at a restaurant right on top of Woodfield Mall. And for some reason, a few people that I worked with decided that it would be fun to have a Ouija board. And, so they were uh, reading the Ouija board. They said this guy named Ed came through and like telling stories like that. And so there was a lot of energy because that's what I believe a Ouija board is, a conduit for energy, right?
Sure.
It's not really demons communicating with you because
Right.
if you really actually pay attention when you're playing with a Ouija board, it can't tell you anything you don't already know. It just doesn't. Which means it's connecting to your intuition, very much like a pendulum or a, what do you call that thing? What do you call that thing?
Dowsing rods.
That's it. Anyway, so we've been messing around with these Ouija boards, in and out, back and forth for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. And I was a bartender, and this was a Mexican restaurant, so we had the racks across the top that to hang glasses, the base of the glass,
Sure. Yep.
hang in the racks, right? And we called it Bugs Burger. Bugs Burger was when they came in and exterminated. And when you did that, you had to take everything out from behind the bar. You had to take all the glasses down. You took everything down. We stacked it up on the tables. We had to cover it all in plastic.
Yep.
It
Yep.
was all sealed up. You kind of get the idea. Like you're not really leaving anything out that's going to have to be washed, right?
Yep.
The next
Makes
time
sense.
you're covering it up. And so the girl I was working with and I, we got it all finished, and we were sitting at the bar counting our tips. And I look up and I see there's a margarita glass hanging in the rack, like towards the back of the rack, by the way, hanging toward in the rack. One glass that we missed, and everything's already all taped up and everything's already all covered. And I looked at her and she looked at me, and I pointed at it and I go, let's just break it. With that, it came out of the rack, shot over the beer cooler, hit the floor, and busted all over the floor.
Wow.
And I wish I had her number so that I could and see if she actually still remembers that. I will never forget it as long as I
Oh
live.
man, that's like
It was like,
poltergeist.
no, that's energy. That's
Okay,
energy.
I know,
That's
but
me
that's
not being in control of my energy.
sure.
At the time, I thought it was some poltergeist crap,
Right.
called on by the.
Right.
So remember, this is how I think. Like
Yep.
what I think now is you're messing with the Ouija board. You're playing with energy. You're stirring up energy. That's what you're doing. Now, all of a sudden, because remember, I'm the one that, knocks out street lamps and all that other stuff. Right. So here's me. Let's just break it. And then, so did it get a little help from somebody who might be listening? Matthew says, no, it wasn't him. So,
Okay. That's pretty.
I don't know. Cool. But I mean, we looked at each other and we were like,
time to go home.
Just like, okay, we're out now. It's time to leave. Gotta go now. Like, it was just crazy.
That's a really cool story, man.
Yeah,
that's a good
crazy,
one.
Right?
Dang.
Yep. Anyway, so what about your cards?
Oh, so this is this is when I was in high school, so clearly not on my journey at all. I was on a band tour, so I was in the band in high school. We were on a band tour, and we were in our hotel room. So I think there were 4 of us sharing the room, And we're kind of waiting for the next thing to happen. And I had a deck of cards, and I gave the deck of cards to my friend and said, pull a card, and I'm going to guess what it is. And so the guy pulls out a card, and I don't remember the actual card, but he pulls out a card and doesn't look at it. And I go, Jack of Hearts. And he goes, right. I'm like, and he shows it to me. I'm like, okay. He puts it down. I said, do another one. And he pulled out another card, and I said, 4 diamonds. And he goes like, you're right. I'm like, oh. He says, how are you doing this? And I'm like, I don't know.
You're not paying it. You're how do I put it? Like when a little kid, like a baby, is learning how to walk, and they're walking, but you're not in the room, and then you come in the room and they notice you're there, and then they fall down.
Yep.
I think that's like that. Like,
it's beginner's
you've
mind.
Right. You've always been connected, but this was a place where your ego didn't have time to get in the way.
We were just playing. Yep. We were just
right?
playing.
Your ego just didn't have time to get in the way. Because I've had a couple of situations like that. I will never forget. I believe it was the first Ghostbusters. Pretty sure. Saw it at a drive-in. That's how long ago it was, because we don't have drive-ins.
Remember
anymore.
those?
Well, we do actually have one here, not far from here. But best job ever. That was my favorite job ever. Oh gosh, I loved working at that drive-in.
Huh. Cool.
Anyway, now this was in the beginning of the Ghostbusters movie. I don't know if you remember. Maybe some people who really like the movie will remember. The first opening sequence is about Zener cards.
I do remember that.
Yeah. And I was and I was just sitting there, and I went, triangle, whatever. I don't remember what they were, but triangle, wavy line, square. Like, I got them all the way across.
You got them all right. That's
never cool. In my life since then have I ever connected with a Zener card again. And now they are the bane of my existence.
Yes. Yeah, we had an episode on that.
I mean, right? Like, they're just, but I'll never forget it, because it was like, oop, 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 and yep, and I had them all. Like,
that's really cool.
And I really believe that it's when it's like you're not paying attention, so your ego doesn't have an opportunity to get in the way, right? Like, yeah. I mean, I think that's got to be. Yeah, right. That was a good one too. So going back to the Ouija board, I enjoyed the Ouija board. I wasn't really sure what the deal was at the time, like, we're going back to, the 90s, right? Like,
yep.
So I didn't have the knowledge I have now, but I remember doing it, and this was the last time I ever touched a Ouija board. I remember doing it with a friend, and we were, trying to get it to talk. And I remember saying, even then, the thing can't tell you anything you don't know already. Can't tell you anything you don't already know. But we were doing it, and we're, and everything's going fine, and it's all good. And then we ask a question, and then the thing starts going around the board like this. And then all of a sudden, the planchette goes off the board and starts going around and around and around and around. And I'm looking at her, and she's looking at me, and we're looking at, this, and it's going around. And then finally, the both of us went like this, and then we took that thing straight to the dumpster because, because we didn't know what the hell was going on, right?
A little too much energy there.
YouTube swearing. Sorry. We had no idea what was going on. But now that I know what I know, I believe, once again, you're connecting to energy. You're stirring up energy. And my energy's been out of control for the, good majority of my life until I figured out how to get it in balance, get it under control. And so I'm sure that's what it was. But, my kid played with that with his friends, and he said they were doing it in the kitchen at somebody's house, and the freezer door popped open. He said he put it back in the box, and he never wanted to touch that thing again. Yeah. So I think it's so funny because it's so natural, right? We interact with energy. All of us do every day. Yep. Oh my gosh. I cannot believe that we already blew through all the time.
We get enough time for like 3 stories, and that's it.
I know, right? We need, we need Metatron to help us slow down time a little bit. Sometime we'll talk about doing that too. So, you have any quick little tidbit for the end?
I think make a note of these synchronicities when they happen. Write them down so you remember them later. And at some point, you'll start to see a pattern, and you'll start to pull together really good information about how the universe works.
Right? Because you'll start to understand. Like, back then it was just things to be afraid of, and now it's like,
Right.
oh, I can see why that. I can.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know what. Like I mean, I can even think of some of the times where the street lamps went out, the street lights went out, and I'd be on my way home from something that had me all like juiced up and excited, and okay, well now I'm gonna drive home in the dark, but whatever. Anyway, yeah. That was really fun. So,
Yeah.
listen, we have decided that we're going to do something special for Halloween since it's only a few weeks away. We don't exactly know what it is yet, but if you have an idea or something you'd like to hear about in regards to Halloween, All Hallows Eve, Dia de los Muertos, let us know, because we'll do a little research. We'll look into it, see what we think, and we'll have a little conversation with you. I think it would be great fun. I enjoy. I mean, I think the ones when we talk about, other things are important, but I do love these ones where we get to talk and chat and have a little fun. So, do you have your own ghost story? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear about it.
Love to hear it.
Maybe it'll be a big story and you can come on and tell everybody. That'd be great. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Don't forget in a couple of days to check out the channel for tarot time. 2 more cards, right?
2 more cards today.
Outstanding. All right. We'll see you later.
All right.